You speak because you are afraid of the silence. You explain yourself because you are desperate for validation. Every time you open your mouth to justify your actions, you are handing your enemy the map to your destruction. In the world of the common man, noise is a comfort blanket, a way to signal belonging and safety. But you are not here to belong. You are here to rule. The urge to fill the void with words is a biological leak of your own insecurity, a flashing neon sign that tells the world you are not in control of your own internal state. Thomas Shelby doesn't shout. He doesn't beg. He commands the room by doing what you are too weak to do. Nothing. He understands that every syllable uttered is a potential hostage given to fortune. By the end of this transmission, you will understand how to weaponize silence into a blade that cuts deeper than any shout. You will learn the architecture of the void and how to sit comfortably within it while others crumble under the weight of the unspoken. You will become untouchable. This isn't just a trait. It is a sovereignty of the soul. In the 16th century, Niccolò Machiavelli warned that everyone sees what you appear to be, but few experience what you really are. Thomas Shelby is the 20th century ghost of that doctrine, a living testament to the fact that the man who reveals nothing is the man who can lose nothing. If you have chosen the path of the sovereign and refuse to be part of the noise, if you are ready to trade your chatter for a crown of calculated coldness, comment, "I am the shadow," below. Like this video to seal your pact with power. Welcome to the world of the silent predator. The law of the vault is the first pillar of your new reality. Never reveal the depth of your pocket or your mind. To be understood is to be captured. To be predictable is to be defeated. In the high-stakes theater of power, the man who explains his motives has already surrendered the initiative. We see this masterfully executed in Thomas Shelby's first interaction with Inspector Campbell. The setting is grim, a reflection of the internal state of the players, a cold, damp church in the heart of Birmingham. Campbell arrives with the full weight of the crown behind him, puffing out his chest, radiating the noisy authority of a man who believes his title is his shield. He blusters, he threatens, and he fills the air with the righteous indignation of the law. And what does Tommy do? He sits. He smokes. He exists in a cloud of his own making, both literally and metaphorically. Tommy doesn't offer a defense. He doesn't attempt to prove his innocence or negotiate from a place of fear. Instead, he offers short, cryptic answers that provide zero traction for Campbell's interrogation. By withholding information, Tommy creates an information asymmetry. He forces the inspector to keep talking, to keep revealing his own biases, his own frustrations, and ultimately, his own weaknesses. While Campbell is busy trying to dominate the conversation with volume, Tommy is conducting a silent audit of the man's soul. He is looking for the cracks in the armor that only appear when a man is forced to speak into a vacuum. The psychology here is profound. Thomas Shelby has mastered his own nervous system to the point where the social pressure of silence, which would make a common man stammer and confess, has no effect on him. He understands that silence is not the absence of power, but the ultimate concentration of it. When you speak, you give away the why behind your what. When you remain silent, the other person is forced to project their own fears onto you. They begin to wonder what you know, what you're planning, and why you aren't afraid of them. This is the essence of Machiavelli's teaching in The Prince, specifically where he notes that a wise ruler should follow a path that makes him unreadable to his enemies. Machiavelli understood that if an opponent cannot map your mind, they cannot predict your moves. If they cannot predict your moves, they cannot set a trap. Tommy Shelby is the fox and the lion intertwined. He uses the fox's cunning to hide his intentions, and the lion's presence to hold his ground without a word. He knows that the moment he starts explaining himself to Campbell, he is acknowledging Campbell as a superior. By refusing to explain, he maintains a horizontal, if not superior, status. He is essentially saying, "Your questions do not require my answers." In the modern world, the common man is addicted to transparency. He posts his goals on social media, he vents his frustrations to co-workers, and he over-explains his mistakes to his superiors. He believes that by being open, he is building trust. In reality, he is just handing out the keys to his vault. He is making himself a target. The man of power, the Shelby, treats his mind like a black box. In your career, when a boss or a rival tries to corner you with a loaded question, the common reaction is to rush into a defensive explanation. You scramble to justify your performance or your decisions. This is a massive loss of status. Instead, you must apply the law of the vault. Deliver the facts, and then stop. If there is a silence, let it sit there like a heavy stone. Let the other person be the one to feel the itch to speak. In a negotiation, the first person to speak after a proposal is usually the one who loses. If you state your price, and the other person says nothing, and you then follow up with, "But we can talk about it," you have just robbed yourself. You have revealed that you are negotiable, that you are weak. The practical application of this law in your daily social chess is simple but brutal. In your next confrontation, whether it's a disagreement with a partner or a high-pressure meeting, give yourself a 3-second delay before responding to anything. This 3-second window is your vault. It allows you to decouple your emotional reaction from your strategic response. It signals to everyone in the room that you are processing information at a level they cannot access. If someone tries to insult you, do not retort. Look at them with the same detached curiosity Thomas Shelby uses when looking at a broken piece of machinery. Your silence is a mirror that reflects their own insecurity back at them. They will try to fill the gap with more insults or justifications, and in doing so, they will reveal exactly why they feel threatened by you. This is how you win without fighting. This is how you destroy them by saying nothing. You are not hiding because you are afraid. You are hiding because you are a predator, and the predator only reveals himself when the strike is already inevitable. Master the vault, and you master the room. Master the room, and you master the world. Silence is your armor. Let them break their teeth against it. The law of the predator is not about the strength of your strike, but the depth of your silence while the prey reveals its own jugular. Information is the only true currency in the architecture of power, and most people are bankrupt because they cannot stop spending their secrets for the sake of a moment's comfort. To master this, you must transform yourself into a strategic listening post, a human vacuum that draws out the internal contents of everyone you encounter. We see the zenith of this strategy in the dark, cavernous rum distillery of Alfie Solomon's. The air is thick with the scent of fermenting molasses and the palpable tension of two predators sharing a cage. Alfie is a man of noise. He is chaotic, manic, and uses a barrage of words, threats, and erratic gestures to disorient his opponents. He prowls around the room, shouting, mocking, and testing the boundaries of the space. He is a whirlwind of ego and unpredictability. And in the center of this storm sits Thomas Shelby. Tommy does not move. He does not attempt to match Alfie's volume. He does not interrupt the madman's flow. Instead, he remains a statue of focused intent, his eyes tracking Alfie not as a man, but as a source of data. Tommy understands a fundamental truth that the common man ignores. When a man speaks, he is busy showing you his wounds, his desires, and his fears. By remaining a silent observer, Tommy isn't just waiting for his turn to speak. He is filtering Alfie's madness to find the singular piece of leverage, the leakage that will allow him to bend the situation to his will. The psychology behind Thomas Shelby's silence in that distillery is a masterpiece of emotional regulation and tactical patience. He knows that Alfie's noise is a defense mechanism, a way to hide his own vulnerabilities. By refusing to engage with the noise, Tommy forces the vulnerability to the surface. He sits there, letting Alfie hang himself with his own words, because he knows that the more a man talks, the more likely he is to say something he cannot take back. This is the embodiment of Niccolò Machiavelli's teaching in The Prince, where he asserts that the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him and how he handles them. Machiavelli understood that leadership is not about being the loudest, it is about being the most perceptive. A ruler who listens more than he speaks is a ruler who knows the true layout of the battlefield. Tommy uses his silence to perform a psychological autopsy on Alfie Solomons while the man is still alive and talking. He is calculating the exact cost of Alfie's loyalty and the exact depth of his betrayal. He is looking for the why behind the noise. The common man sees Alfie as a threat because he is loud. Tommy sees Alfie as a map because he won't stop talking. In the modern landscape of social chess, the masses, are desperate to be heard. They live in an era of constant self-broadcast, where silence is interpreted as a lack of personality or a lack of confidence. This is where your advantage lies. The sovereign understands that the one who speaks the most is the one who is the most controlled by the room. In your professional life, in your social circles, or even in your intimate relationships, people are constantly leaking information. They tell you what they hate about their bosses, they tell you what they fear about their futures, and they tell you exactly what makes them feel insecure. They do this because they want validation. They want someone to say, "I hear you." You will give them that validation with your eyes, but you will keep your own secrets locked behind a wall of glass. When you are in a meeting, do not be the first to offer an opinion. Ask an open-ended question like, "How do you see this evolving?" And then simply watch. People will start to talk to fill the void. They will begin to justify their positions. They will reveal who they trust and who they are trying to undermine. This is leakage. It is the small detail, a nervous laugh, a specific word choice, a glance toward the door, that tells you everything you need to know about their true intentions. To apply the law of the predator today, you must adopt the Shelby filter. When someone is speaking to you, do not think about your response. Think about the motivation behind their words. Why are they telling you this specific story? What are they trying to make you believe about them? If someone is bragging about their success, they are leaking a need for status. If they are complaining about a friend, they are leaking a fear of betrayal. Use this information to build your own strategy. In a negotiation, let the other party present their case in full. When they finish, do not speak immediately. Look at them for 5 seconds. Often, the discomfort of that silence will cause them to offer a concession or a lower price before you have even opened your mouth. You are not being quiet. You are being a predator waiting for the prey to step into the clearing. Information is power, and silence is the net you use to catch it. The common man speaks to feel important. The sovereign stays silent to become powerful. Let them talk. Let them boast. Let them reveal their hand. And when they are finished, you will be the only one left with the cards to play. The law of calculated coldness is the ultimate armor of the sovereign. A reaction is a surrender of power. In the hierarchy of human behavior, the one who reacts is the one who is being led. To be triggered is to admit that someone else has found the remote control to your nervous system and is pressing the buttons at will. Thomas Shelby is the master of the reaction gap, the space between a provocation and a response, where power is either lost or consolidated. We see this with chilling clarity when Luca Changretta, the sophisticated and lethal head of the Black Hand, walks into Tommy's office. This is not just a meeting. It is a declaration of war. Luca is an artist of intimidation. He places a hand-tailored suit in a room of smoke and grit, and he places a series of bullets on Tommy's desk, each one marked with the name of a Shelby family member. It is a visceral, direct threat to everything Tommy has built and everyone he loves. The common man, faced with the image of his own death and the death of his kin, would react. He would show fear, he would show rage, or he would show a desperate need to retaliate. Any of these reactions would give Luca the satisfaction of knowing he has successfully colonized Tommy's mind. But Thomas Shelby does not flinch. He doesn't even blink. He treats the arrival of a world-class assassin and the threat of total annihilation as if it were a minor discrepancy in an accounting ledger. He looks at the bullets with a detached, almost academic interest. This lack of reaction is more terrifying to Luca than a room full of gunmen would be. By refusing to react, Tommy is signaling that Luca's power does not reach inside him. He is demonstrating a sovereignty over his own internal state that renders Luca's psychological warfare irrelevant. This is the emotional decoupling that separates the king from the pawn. Tommy understands that his anger or his fear would be a gift to his enemy, a map of his triggers. Instead, he maintains a cold, professional distance. He speaks to Luca not as a victim, but as a businessman discussing a transaction. This coldness is his weapon. It forces Luca to realize that he is not dealing with a man, but with a force of nature that cannot be intimidated. This strategic coldness finds its philosophical roots in Machiavelli's The Prince, specifically in the famous discourse on whether it is better to be loved or feared. Machiavelli argued that love is held by a chain of obligation which, because men are selfish, is broken whenever it serves their purpose, but fear is maintained by a dread of punishment, which never fails. However, the most effective fear is not the fear of a screaming tyrant, but the fear of a cold, unpredictable observer. A man who gets angry is predictable. You know exactly what he will do when he is pushed. But a man who stays calm while you threaten his life is a mystery. You don't know where his limits are, or if he even has any. This unpredictability creates a profound sense of dread in the opponent. Tommy Shelby follows this to the letter. His unpredictable detachment is what makes him the most dangerous man in Birmingham. He is the lion that Machiavelli spoke of, the one who frightens the wolves because the wolves cannot understand his lack of fear. In the modern world, you are constantly being tested for your triggers. In your career, a jealous colleague might make a snide comment about your work in front of a group. In your personal life, someone might try to guilt-trip you or provoke an argument to gain the upper hand. The common man reacts instantly. He defends himself, he gets angry, he explains his side, he surrenders. To apply the law of calculated coldness, you must realize that every time you get upset by someone's words, you are acknowledging their importance. You are saying, "What you think of me matters more than my own peace of mind." This is a catastrophic loss of status. From this moment forward, you must view every provocation as a test of your sovereignty. When someone insults you or tries to intimidate you, employ the 3-second void. Look them directly in the eyes, not with anger, but with a blank, unreadable expression. Count to 3 in your head. Then, ask a simple, devastating question. Is that all? Or, "Are you finished?" This response does two things. First, it completely deflates the other person's momentum. They were expecting a fight, and you gave them a vacuum. Second, it positions you as the judge of the interaction. You are essentially asking them to justify why they are wasting your time. This is how you maintain the status lead. Practice stillness training in high-pressure environments. When you feel the heat of anger or the cold of fear rising in your chest, do not let it reach your face. Keep your hands still, your breathing deep, and your voice level. Your lack of reaction is a signal of absolute self-control, and in a world of people who are slaves to their emotions, the man who controls himself is the man who controls everyone else. Thomas Shelby doesn't need to shout to be heard. His silence and his coldness speak louder than any threat. Become the master of your own reaction gap, and you will find that your enemies will begin to fear the very air you breathe. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the architect of your own response. Choose the cold. Choose the power. The law of social chess is the physical manifestation of your internal sovereignty. Most men enter a room like beggars, eyes darting to see who is watching them, bodies twitching with the nervous energy of the socially subservient. They are ghosts in their own lives, constantly adjusting their posture and their expressions to seek the approval of the room. They leak energy through every micro-movement: a tap of the foot, a quick adjustment of the tie, a nervous glance at a smartphone. These are the signals of the prey. Thomas Shelby, however, is the architect of his own gravity. Presence is not about being noticed. It is about being impossible to ignore. And this starts with the total command of your own movement. We see the definitive execution of this nonverbal dominance in the sequence where Tommy walks into the garrison after the Great War. The streets of Birmingham are a graveyard of industrial rot and broken men, yet when Tommy moves through them, the environment seems to rearrange itself around him. He doesn't rush. He doesn't look to the left or right. His walk is slow, deliberate, and carries the rhythmic weight of a man who has seen the end of the world in the tunnels of France and returned with a soul made of iron. When he pushes open the doors of the pub, he doesn't scan the room for friends. He occupies the space. His gait is heavy, his shoulders are relaxed but immovable, and his head is held with a terrifying level of stillness. This is not just a stroll. It is a military occupation. He walks as if he already owns the ground he steps on, and because he believes it, the world has no choice but to concede the territory. The internal psychology of Thomas Shelby in these moments is centered on the concept of the dead man's advantage. Having survived the visceral horror of the trenches, Tommy has effectively already died. This removes the primary leak that most men suffer from, the fear of social judgment. When you are no longer afraid to lose, you no longer feel the need to move nervously. His stillness is a byproduct of his detachment. He understands that in the hierarchy of power, the man who moves the most is the one who is the most reactive to his environment. By moving with such calculated economy, he forces the environment to react to him. He is the immovable object around which the chaotic world must flow. This physical discipline is the foundation of his authority. It communicates to everyone, from the street urchin to the inspector, that this man cannot be shaken, cannot be rushed, and cannot be intimidated. He is in total control of his own biology, which is the first step toward controlling the biology of others. He uses his body as a fortress, a vessel for a mind that is always 3 moves ahead on the board. This mastery of physical presence is the living embodiment of Niccolò Machiavelli's instruction in The Prince, that a ruler must have no other objective or thought but war and its discipline. Machiavelli understood that leadership is an active, ongoing struggle for dominance, and that discipline is the only thing that keeps a man from being swept away by the whims of fortune. To Machiavelli, the discipline of war wasn't just about swords and shields. It was about the mental and physical rigor required to maintain authority in the eyes of the people. A prince who appears soft, erratic, or nervous will soon find himself deposed. Thomas Shelby's walk is his discipline of war. It is a constant, visible reminder of his capacity for violence and his absolute self-possession. He treats the social world as a battlefield, where every movement is a maneuver. By maintaining a posture of unwavering stillness and deliberate motion, he fulfills the Machiavellian requirement of appearing grand, courageous, and serious. He doesn't need to state his power because his presence screams it. He has transformed his very existence into a ritual of sovereignty. In the modern landscape of the common man, this level of physical discipline is almost non-existent. We live in an age of distractions and digital leashes, where men are constantly hunched over screens, their bodies reflecting their fractured attention. In your professional life, in high-stakes meetings, or in social gatherings, you will see men who are physically leaky. They fidget, they cross and uncross their legs. They look away when challenged, and they move with a frantic energy that betrays their internal chaos. To apply the law of social chess, you must begin stillness training. When you enter a room, do so with a slow, measured pace. Do not look down. Do not scan the faces of the people there to see if they like you. Pick a point and move toward it with the inevitability of a glacier. When you sit, occupy your space fully. Do not cross your arms or tuck your feet under your chair. These are defensive, low-status positions. Keep your hands visible and still. When someone speaks to you, do not immediately nod or react with your face. Maintain a steady, calm gaze. The status lead is won by the man who can remain still while everyone else is vibrating with anxiety. If you can sit in a meeting for an hour without a single unnecessary movement, you will project a level of power that no words can match. You will become the focal point of the room because humans are biologically wired to look at the predator who isn't moving. Stillness projects a massive level of self-assurance and dangerous self-control. It suggests that you are so confident in your position that you don't need to waste energy on submissive social cues. This is how you weaponize your presence. You stop being a guest in the rooms you enter and start being the landlord. Your movement should be a signal of intent, and your stillness should be a signal of power. Like Thomas Shelby, walk as if the world is already yours, and soon enough, the world will agree. The law of the fog is the art of strategic opacity. If they can't predict you, they can't defeat you. In the architecture of power, clarity is a vulnerability. The moment your patterns are identified, your enemies can begin to build a cage around your future actions. To remain sovereign, you must ensure that your true intentions, your methods, and your endgames are perpetually shrouded in a calculated haze. Thomas Shelby's mastery of this law reaches its peak during his dealings with the Russian nobility, specifically Grand Duchess Tatiana Petrovna. The Russians are creatures of ancient rot, excess, and profound paranoia. They are masters of the long game, and they attempt to use every tool at their disposal, sex, wealth, and psychological manipulation, to find the real Thomas Shelby. Tatiana, in particular, tries to provoke him, to find his breaking point, and to map out his desires. But Tommy gives her nothing but a shifting mirror. He plays a game of multiple sides, balancing the interests of the British Crown, the Soviets, and the exiled royals, never allowing any single faction to grasp the full scope of his plan. Even when he is at his most vulnerable, He is wearing a mask of strategic unpredictability. The internal psychology of Thomas Shelby in this theater of shadows is one of total emotional compartmentalization. He understands that to be a grand strategist, one must be comfortable with the isolation of the secret. He doesn't share the full plan with his brothers, nor with his allies. This isn't because he lacks trust. It's because he knows that a secret shared is a secret weakened. He uses the mask to shield his internal state from the world. When Tatiana tries to push him into madness or passion, he responds with a coldness that is both alluring and terrifying. He is willing to burn his own carefully constructed bridges if it means keeping the enemy guessing about his next move. This calculated unpredictability is his greatest defense. By never settling into a predictable rhythm, he ensures that any trap set for him is based on false data. He is the ghost in the machine, the variable that no one can account for. His power comes from the fact that he is the only person who knows the true direction of the ship, even as it appears to be sailing into a storm. This principle is the cornerstone of Machiavelli's tactical philosophy, most famously expressed in the analogy of the fox and the lion. Machiavelli taught that a prince must be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. The fox element is the essence of the law of the fog. It is the ability to use deception, to hide one's true strength, and to appear as something other than what one is. Machiavelli argued that it is not necessary for a prince to actually possess all the virtues, like being honest, religious, or kind, but it is absolutely necessary for him to appear to have them. By maintaining this appearance, the prince keeps the public and his enemies in a state of confusion regarding his true nature. Thomas Shelby is the modern fox. He appears to be a businessman, a politician, or a criminal, depending on what the situation requires, but he is none of those things entirely. He is a predator who uses these roles as camouflage. Machiavelli would have praised Tommy's handling of the Russians. He allowed them to believe they were manipulating him, only to reveal, when it was far too late, that he had already looted their vault and secured his own future. In the modern world, the massa are obsessed with authenticity and being an open book. They post their every thought on social media. They share their career plans with anyone who will listen, and they live in a state of perpetual transparency. This is strategic suicide. The common man is a creature of habit and routine. He is easily solved. To apply the law of the fog in your life, you must begin to dismantle your own predictability. If everyone at your job knows exactly how you will react to a criticism, you are easy to manage. If your friends know exactly what you will say on any given topic, you have become a background character in their lives. From this moment on, start withholding your opinions. When asked for your thoughts on a controversial subject, give a cryptic, neutral answer and change the subject. Let people wonder where you stand. Break your routines, change your physical path, change your timing, and occasionally say no to things you would normally say yes to, without providing an explanation. This strategic uncertainty creates a vacuum that other people will rush to fill with their own projections. They will start to treat you with a new level of respect and caution because they can no longer figure you out. In negotiations, do not reveal your ultimate goal until the final moment. Let the other party speculate on what you really want. In your personal relationships, maintain a core of privacy that no one, not even those closest to you, is allowed to enter. This isn't about being deceptive for the sake of it. It is about protecting the vault of your mind. By keeping the world in a state of fog, you ensure that the power always remains in your hands. You become the one who dictates the terms of the engagement because you are the only one who knows the layout of the battlefield. Like Thomas Shelby, Let the world see only the mask you choose to wear, while your true intentions remain as untouchable as a shadow in the night. Uncertainty is the greatest leverage you have. Use it. The law of the silent strike is the final, lethal expression of your transformation. The world should only hear the explosion, never the fuse. In the hierarchy of power, the man who announces his intentions is essentially begging for permission to succeed. He is signaling a lack of confidence, seeking the validation of the crowd to bolster his own resolve. But the sovereign understands that the most effective blow is the one that arrives from a direction the enemy didn't even know existed. We see the absolute mastery of this strategy during the legendary Day of the Derby. While the high society of England is gathered at the Epsom races, distracted by the glamour, the gambling, and the noise of the crowd, Thomas Shelby is executing a masterpiece of synchronized destruction. The world sees Tommy at the races, seemingly a man of leisure, a successful businessman enjoying his rise to the top. They see him as a target, a man out of his element. His enemies, including the Italian mob leader Sabini and the corrupt Inspector Campbell, believe they have him cornered. They are so focused on the man they see in front of them that they are completely blind to the ghost army moving in the shadows. Tommy hasn't just planned a move. He has engineered a total collapse of his opponent's reality. While he stands in the sunlight of the racetrack, his men are methodically dismantling the power structures of his rivals across London and Birmingham. He doesn't send a warning. He doesn't issue a threat. He simply allows the clock to strike the appointed hour. The internal psychology of Thomas Shelby in this moment is one of profound, icy isolation. He carries the weight of the entire operation alone, purposefully keeping even his closest allies in the dark about the full scale of the strike until the very last second. He understands that a leak is not just a tactical error, it is a fatal wound. By maintaining absolute silence until the moment of impact, he ensures that the explosion, the sudden violent shift in the balance of power, is the only thing his enemies ever experience. He knows that the shock of an unanticipated attack is often more debilitating than the attack itself. It shatters the enemy's will to fight back, because it reveals just how much they didn't know. This ruthless efficiency is the direct application of Niccolò Machiavelli's counsel in The Prince regarding the administration of severities. Machiavelli argued that when a ruler must inflict harm or take power, he should do it all at once. By executing his plan in a single, silent, and devastating strike, the prince ensures that the pain is concentrated and the resistance is minimized. Machiavelli warned against protracted warfare or warnings that give the enemy time to consolidate. The silent strike is the most Machiavellian act possible. It is a surgical removal of the opposition that leaves the survivors in a state of awe and terror. Tommy Shelby doesn't want a fair fight. He wants an execution. He understands that the glory of a long battle is for fools. The sovereign wants the result with the least amount of noise and the maximum amount of permanence. He uses the noise of the world, the races, the social events, the public persona, as a smokescreen for the silent work occurring beneath the surface. In the modern world, the massa are addicted to the grind. They post pictures of their late-night work sessions. They tweet about their big projects, and they broadcast every minor milestone to a public that doesn't care. They are selling the fuse. They want the credit for the work before the work is even finished. This is a massive strategic blunder. When you announce your plans, you invite sabotage, jealousy, and competition. You give your rivals time to adjust their positions. To apply the law of the silent strike, you must adopt a policy of total project secrecy. Whether you are launching a new business, seeking a promotion, or planning a major life change, do not speak of it. Let your co-workers think you are content where you are. Let your rivals think you are stagnant. Work in the dark, in the hours and spaces where no one is looking. Your success should not be a slow, predictable climb that everyone sees coming. It should be a sudden, undeniable reality that changes the landscape overnight. In your professional social chess, if you are planning to take a client or implement a new system that will give you an advantage, do not seek consensus. Do not beta test your ideas with people who might steal them or undermine them. Build your fortress in silence. Let the first time anyone hears about your move be the moment it has already been successfully completed. This creates a psychological shock and awe effect. People will wonder how you did it, how long you've been planning it, and what else you are capable of. This uncertainty is your new shield. By the time they realize the game has started, you have already won. You are not here to be part of the noise. You are the architect of the explosion. Like Thomas Shelby, keep your fuse buried deep in the earth, and let the world only wake up when the ground begins to shake under your command. Power is not found in the loudest voice in the room. It is found in the one who doesn't need to speak at all. Silence is the ultimate filter. It keeps the fools out and the secrets in. Throughout this journey, we have dissected the anatomy of the silent predator. We have seen how Thomas Shelby, guided by the cold wisdom of Machiavelli, transformed himself from a man of the trenches into a sovereign of the shadows. He mastered the vault of his mind, the strategy of his listening, the coldness of his emotions, the presence of his body, and the fog of his intentions. He learned that the world belongs to those who can sit in the center of the storm and remain absolutely still. The common man will always be a slave to his tongue and his triggers. He will continue to seek the comfort of noise and the safety of the crowd. But you have chosen a different path. You have seen the architecture of power, and you know that the throne is reserved for the one who can command the void. I give you a final challenge. For the next 24 hours, you will become a ghost. Speak only when it is strictly necessary for survival. Do not explain your actions. Do not justify your choices to anyone. When provoked, offer nothing but a 3-second silence and a steady gaze. Watch as the people around you begin to scramble. Watch how they try to fill the silence with their own insecurities. You will see, perhaps for the first time, how much power you have been giving away through mere chatter. This is your first day as a sovereign. The world is a chessboard, and every movement you make from this moment on must be a calculated step toward your own reign. Do not be the piece moved by the hand of another. Be the player who moves in the dark, who speaks in results, and who destroys the competition by saying nothing. Choose the silence, choose the shadow, choose power.